So there's an old saying with All Elite Wrestling is that, their TV show does suck and their TV show has a lot of problems. But one thing that you cannot take away with AEW is that they really, really are masters of pay-per-views. I think that every single time you're going to watch an AEW pay-per-view, you will not be disappointed. And I think that the reason for that is that when they do their pay-per-views, I think that they understand that that's how they really make their money. That's how they really hold interest, and that's just really the only like goodwill that they have right now. The only thing that people rely on is really how they really do their pay-per-views. I think that it allows them to go long. People are expecting them to go long. They can flesh out stories, they can flesh out cliffhangers, and they can flesh out a lot of great stuff. So I also want to mention that I saw Jack Perry and a few other people be escorted to their vehicle. It's at the Prudential Center. They're just maybe like, private black car to go to a hotel or whatever. Like, when you're walking the street, you're going to see that. I met Matt and Jeff Hardy in Buffalo, in Boston, and then I've met Edge, Adam Cole, and Darby Allin at Nassau Coliseum. But Jack Perry, outside of work, very very respectful human being, and I appreciate that, and I just told him and David and a few other people like that were there with them, like I really appreciate what you guys do. I've been to over 30, 40 shows. And I also want to say to Jack Perry, like with CM Punk and all that shit, it really, really shows the past year when he's came back, he really gives a fuck about AEW. Jack Perry does. He really, really gives a fuck. And I really respect him for that. I have a lot of respect for Jack Perry. So without further ado, I want to go over all the matches. So the first thing that I want to say is that, I did not see the first match on the preliminary. I think it was like Anna Jay versus somebody. I think it was Anna Jay versus Penelope Ford. I didn't see that, but I saw the Fatal 4-Way match, and there were a lot of people that were really hot for Buddy Matthews, and I really am a little worried about the direction of the House of Black, really, because I really think they need to just go their own directions as single stars. That's probably the best move for them. And then the next match, I was really surprised by this one. It was like, I believe it was like the Boom guys, like the Boom Cookie guys, like I think it's AJ, something like that, versus QT Marshall. Like, honestly, I thought this was going to be a stupid ass joke match or just like a joke celebrity type of thing. But those guys, they really got a huge pop because they're locals to New Jersey. And even though, like, there are people singing the Boom, the Cookie song and all that stuff, they did a hell of a job. Like, I think there was a lot of great emotions in this. There was a lot of really great spots. I think they have like there's like two of them, like two sons. So they act like the Rizzler is like like this maybe 8 or 9 year old kid, really. So like he came out with Paul White, really, and they did a lot of great spots. QT Marshall played the heel really good. He was acting like he was going to attack both the kids. You see like the son actually like spear him and other things like that. Like he really. Like QT Marshall really acted like a heel, and most people don't know who QT Marshall is or anything like that, really. So the father, really, he did a really great job with the match, really. So it really felt like you saw like all the work he was putting in, all the spots he was doing. He's a big husky guy, really. So definitely seeing him actually win does not feel cartoonish, and then also he's beating QT Marshall, so. It actually looks realistic. I know I said something like I would like to see Jack Perry versus Peter Griffin. I think, like, honestly, if you had that match and then you had Jack Perry lose, it would hurt his character a lot, really. So sometimes, when we have celebrities or we have ideas, or even if I have my own ideas with celebrities, sometimes they can sound good on paper, but then when you talk it out, you realize how good or stupid they are. But they did a hell of a job. And then it opens with the Fatal 4-Way match. It was the Outrunners, the Acclaimed, and the House of Black and Private Party. I like the finisher that they did. It was almost like if I remember correctly, it was like a head scissors that they did on Max Caster, and they threw him into an RKO type of thing. It looked really cool with what Private Party did. That was a hell of a finisher. They did a lot of great teasing of the Acclaim possibly breaking up, and almost like like Max Caster being the heel and Anthony Bowens being like the baby face. He grew up in New Jersey, so once again he got into good New Jersey pop. So there was a lot of like teasing that they can also honestly break up. And actually too, I would not even mind that. I think that would be a really great creative risk if the Acclaim broke up, really, because it's almost like, what is Billy Gunn really doing? And then also too, when you look at the match, what is Caster and Anthony Bowens accomplishing? I think that, as single stars, it would be very interesting. But I also think with the Hurt Business, that's going to be a very weird dynamic, because I think that with Max Caster, he's kind of like a smart ass, really. So it's almost like, how does he really fit in with the Hurt Business? Like, I don't think he would be successful, really. But I also would say, it's weird with the Acclaim, because I'm not sure how successful they'll be if they join separate factions, or you actually have them, fight each other. Because then it's like, if they get back together, how do you do that, really, if it's not successful? So it's going to be a little weird if they go down that direction, but it's really being teased. But Private Party looks good, and I think like there wasn't a lot of like big man spots. Like you saw like something where Brody King was like pushing like two people with his hand, and that looked really cool, but it did kind of look a little like silly. And I also was saying with the Outrunners, they're inspired by Hulk Hogan, so why didn't one of them pick up Brody King and imitate the Andre the Giant like scoop slam? I think that would have been better. And I really think this was a great match, because last year you did the ladder match and you had people go through like ladders and whatever, so you can't really do something, and I give them a lot of credit for like do a bunch of hardcore stuff. If you did it like you don't want to repeat matches. Like if you did a ladder match with 4 teams last year, you shouldn't be doing that every single year, or else it becomes predictable and all that stuff. So that's just what I gotta say, really. But actually, Pride Party won. This is a great survey of different teams. MJF versus Roderick Strong, and I really appreciate this. Roderick Strong should not be speaking on the microphone. Like I said, he sounds like Johnny Knoxville. So when you saw MJF get on the microphone and he was talking a bunch of shit about Roderick Strong and like and mocking the fact that his mother killed his father, and then also saying like like stuff like oh well, I don't really want to be here, and then also other stuff about like making money in Hollywood and all that. He was trying to be like the biggest asshole like that he could be, really. And there's some things you say to him and then you'd be kicked out of the arena or into any but wrestler. Like there's what sometimes he elicits so much anger that when you actually see him in a match, really you actually feel it. Like he knows how to insult the crowds, he knows how to push the envelope, without, he takes it far that he can take it, really, and he's really an expert at that, So obviously we see Roderick Strong fight back and beat him badly, it really just, it really flows so well, really, it works so well, and I really just, respect that, and then I think that, I was also happy with the finish, like I think that, and it was such a good match because you saw like Roderick Strong like throw him into like barricades and really just rough him up, and it worked because obviously, somebody says something so personal and disrespectful or disrespecting your trauma or what you've been through, really, I really think that, Roderick Strong just like, throwing him around and just, being really angry and aggressive with Max, that worked so fucking well, and that's what you really need to do. And then that was that, really, I was happy that MJF won. I think that makes the most sense, really, because you almost have to get to Adam Page versus MJF, and then that's the end of it, really. And I also think the other thing you have to kind of say to yourself is, that's going to be a very hard ending, because there are some people that are saying that maybe Adam Cole is going to be betrayed and all the Undisputed Kingdom is going to be powered by MJF, or Adam Cole may become friends with MJF and they turn on the Undisputed Kingdom. But I think that, you have to do something where it's like Adam Cole, MJF, you get this out of the way, and then you start anew really. And MJF goes in his own direction. Adam Cole goes into his own direction. The next match was like Hangman and Jay White. This was good and bad for a couple of reasons. They did a lot in this match. They actually went on for a long time, and it was really really good. And I don't like I don't like Adam Page losing. I think that with Adam Page, he really needs to be in the heavyweight championship picture. Like I think that at the end of the night, I was really upset because I really think that I really really wanted Adam Page to actually, you know, set up a match with John Moxley because I think Adam Page versus John Moxley is where they need to go. That's where the money is. But having him lose is not good. But I also will say that having Jay White beat Adam Page, it does damage to Adam Page, but not enough to destroy him. I think that, as I said, I think Adam Page, he has to kind of go through a couple of months of just losing nonstop to kind of really kill his momentum, really. But I think that one thing I like is that I think Jay White needs to be build up as a big deal, and also Jay White is a former NJPW champion, so it doesn't make sense for him to be because like remember what happened to him last year. He lost to a one-legged man, really. So I think that like any type of building of Jay White I can be okay with. And I was also happy too that the Gun Club wasn't there because it shows a lot when somebody's having a match and their boys are not there, really. So it's just good. It's a good visual to show that he can get things done. But it was a really okay match. And it went on a little too long, and it was actually kind of bad, really, because I felt like the problem was that there was a bunch of matches that felt like it went on a long time, where they were doing a lot of like stuff, really. Like there's about a bunch of near falls and finishes in many of the matches, so it started to get monotonous and it started to drain my energy. The next match was Mercedes Moné versus Chris Statlander. Really great match. Mercedes Moné, like again, she is horrible on the microphone, but she has really great matches. I actually think that, honestly, 100%, she and Will Ospreay are not allowed to have any matches on television. They should not be allowed to have matches on television. They should have matches on pay-per-views. Only pay-per-views, because Mercedes Moné is really, really fucking excellent at pay-per-view matches. They go a good distance. You see a lot, and you feel for the people that she's facing because they put in a lot of work. They put in a lot of counters and two counts and high power moves, and she kind of like gets through it all. So it definitely has that feeling of like the hard worker, trying to do everything, but they can't get the job done, really. But she did a really great job. There was a bunch of counters between her and Chris Statlander. There's a bunch of high power moves from Chris Statlander, and it really was just a really really great match. It went on a reasonably long time, really. But I was starting to say, okay, it's bad because the next match is Will Ospreay versus Will Ospreay versus Fletcher, and we all know with Will Ospreay matches to go on a long time, really. So I kind of was like feeling like very gassed and very very tired, really. So again, it was like 4 or 5 matches in a row that they had that felt like long. A lot of just like a lot of 2-fall type of matches, really. So this was the match of the night, really. They did a lot of like reversal. They did a lot of reversals. They did a lot of high power moves. Flips and poison ranas and RKOs and pile drivers and hits on the steps and a lot of just like hard hitting spots, really. It really felt like like a brawler and flippy style. Like it was almost like if AJ Styles and Randy Orton hit the polymerization and button, really, and that's kind of what you got, really. But I was very happy that Kyle Fletcher won. I was also very happy that there was not a lot of interference, and I was also kind of happy too because my fantasy booking was you would make this a first blood match. But I kind of think that, with what you did in the main event, really, I'm happy that they didn't do it. Because, as I said, it shows a lot of self-control. Because you're not relying on just shock and horror. You have to kind of use that at the right moments. And we do that multiple times a night. It just loses its impact, really. But I was really happy with how this match was done. It was very, very well done. it was definitely one of the best matches that Will Ospreay's ever had. And I also think one thing I like about it is that this was not really about Will Ospreay just doing all these moves. It's really just about the story of Kyle Fletcher just trying to be his own person and being mad that Will Ospreay kind of has been in the limelight, really. And so with all this story and character change that Kyle Fletcher's doing, he deserved to win, and he also, it's good for Ospreay as well because there has to be a story there. There has to be an emotional connection, really, and I think that that's what they achieved, really. Otherwise, he becomes a Dave Meltzer wrestler where it's just all about wrestling and really and really no thought or story, really. So that's not good. The next thing after that was the Mina Shirakawa and Mariah May celebration. So it was good, but then they betrayed each other. Mina Shirakawa gets the upper hand, and I'm actually happy with this because the problem is that Mariah May usually gets the upper hand. And she's done a couple of things like smashing. She smashed a bunch of glass bottles on people's faces. She's bloodied people before. So the problem is, once again, if you do that all the time, really, it makes everybody that hangs out with her look stupid because it's like, then you kind of know that she's a betrayer. And then again, it's good because you kind of needed this because the problem is that you don't go from Ospreay to another match because the problem is like the crowd's like too the crowd's kind of really has a lot of energy, so definitely, or there's a lot of energy release. So if you have a couple of matches like this, people get a little gassed and all that. The next match was Daniel Garcia versus Jack Perry. They both did a hell of a job. I know some people don't like Daniel Garcia. They kind of say, okay, he was doing the dick dancing too much. He was doing all the comedy shit too much. But I think that what I'm seeing from Daniel Garcia, I like this button down, very serious. He overcame abuse. He overcame an abusive father. He loves his mother. He really has like a fighter complex. He's almost like a babyface Ricky Starks, really. He doesn't have the same charisma, but he definitely has, almost like that John Cena type of, just ruthless aggression. That just ambition, being driven, believing that he's a big deal, really. And as I said, it's very inspiring, and it's good because the thing is that if you keep doing that, it's going to make him a big star, really. It just shows that he gives a shit, it shows that he's passionate, and I think that that's the word, and I respect that because there's not a lot of wrestlers on AEW that are passionate. And then I also will say that Jack Perry, again, he's a really great heel. He really knows how to get into people's emotions. He really knows that he fucked up at AEW, but he's been doing things like being set on fire, being tied to cars, doing all this crazy stuff. Really, it really shows to me that Jack Perry gives a shit about AEW, and he really gives a shit about saying, okay, he fucked up, but now he has to kind of do the grunt work, really. And he's kind of been living up to that. But definitely, if I would to say, superstars of the year, I would say that Swerve is number one. Ospreay's a number two, really, this is all for AEW. And I think number 3 or 4 would be Jack Perry. He's really just picked himself up and all that. But yeah, it was a really great match. I was actually very surprised that Jack Perry won this. No, that Dan Garcia won this. I think that like I said, I would have had MJF kind of cost him, and that be that, really. But the problem is that if you kind of do that, it just becomes a little predictable, really. Because I was expecting that to happen because I know he and MJF had a feud, but I think they're going to do MJF versus Adam Cole, and then maybe MJF's going to come after the TNT Championship. I think that's the best way to do it. The next thing, and then it's also a good title for Dan Garcia because it is a title where you're supposed to, actually, give a shit about it and hold it and respect it and all those, important things. And then the next thing that I would say about all that is that the next match was Ricochet versus Takeshita. This was the worst match of the night, really. I think that people were very gassed and very tired, and it's kind of you get what when you wish, sometimes sometimes when your wishes come true, you end up regretting it. And I really wanted this match to be on the pay-per-view, but it was a bad match. I felt like there was not a lot of energy. They moved very slowly to spots. I know it wasn't super flippy, but because I think the problem is that if you did that, it would come off as Osprey, Fletcher, twice in a night, really. So I think that again, they should have saved this for another for a television show or a main event with a limited commercial interruption, really, or say something like, okay, there has to be 20 commercials during the show, but we're gonna like put it all after, before the match, really. So it's gonna be 30 minutes uninterrupted. And I think that that would have been better, really, because I that would have been better, really, but they moved pretty slowly between each spots. Really, you saw the Blue Thunder Mob bomb, and there were some other really cool moves. But Ricochet could have been way more flippy and athletic to kind of like really cheer the crowd. But they didn't decide to do it. But that would have added a lot, really. No. I'm about to fall asleep. Then there are two more matches. There was the Hurt Business versus Swerve versus Lashley. Great match. There was barricade spots. They were really Lashley was really roughing him up, but they did a great balance of making Swerve have this person with superhuman endurance because obviously, that the majority of his matches are like really high endurance types, and then he also has Bobby Lashley there, and Bobby Lashley is known to be a powerhouse, so it was really great. Like they really played off each other's strengths. Really, they did a bunch of like spots, especially the double foot stomp to send Lashley to the table. They really like tore the house down. It was very believable. MVP was trying to hype people. People were chanting, "We hurt people." So there was a lot of just things that worked very well for this match, and yeah, I'll be excited to see what the future is. And then the last thing that I will say is that there was Moxley versus Orange Cassidy. It was a good match. I'm actually proud of Orange Cassidy. He took himself seriously 99% of the match, really. He also just started by brawling with John Moxley, so it really showed a difference in his character. It showed that he had more like violence and intensity, and that's what we need from Orange Cassidy. That's going to help him that's going to help him be an actual memorable star, really. But if he sticks to the dumb comedy and his silly sloth style character, that's going to fuck him over, really. But there was, what we see from Orange Cassidy. We have the comedy kicks, and like I said, that I lose respect for him because he should know better that it hurts his credibility. But the Moxley faction beat him down. There was a bunch of interference. Chris Statlander and Marina Shafir, it looks like they're going to have a feud with each other. I'm very happy with that because Willow and Marina Shafir will be a really great thing. And I'm sorry, it's actually Willow who speared Marina Shafir. So Willow versus Marina Shafir. I think that'll be a really great match. That needs to happen. Both brutal, powerful women. It's going to be really awesome. And Moxley wins. It was the right decision, but they really teased. They teased a lot. It felt a little confusing. It felt very muddled. They kind of teased Christian Cage was going to win, and then they were also teasing that Adam Page was working with Christian but betraying the Moxley faction. They kind of showed that Jay White has like this vendetta against Adam Page. So because Adam Page and Christian Cage are friends, he blocks him from casting. He from winning the Money in the Bank contract. Really, So there was a lot of just people just saying, okay, I'm going to stop this person, that person. So the championship stays on. Moxley doesn't go away because of either Orange Cassidy winning fair and square, or it goes the other way with Christian Cage cashing it in, really. And I was a little like mad because it felt like a clusterfuck because you had John Moxley. He gets attacked by Jay White. No, you have John Moxley. He gets attacked by he gets attacked by Christian Cage, and then you have Jay White. Let me start over. You have John Moxley get attacked by Adam Page, and then it's revealed that Adam Page is working for Christian Cage. And then Christian Cage's about to cash in, and then Jay White kind of messes things up because Jay White is feuding with Adam Page. So the best way the best way for for Adam Page for Adam Page. The best thing for Adam Page is that is knowing that one of his friends got hurt, really. So you're setting up, so they might lead to Jay White versus Adam Page Part 3, which I don't want. But it also can set up, I'm Jay White versus Christian, But it seems like, this is a little repetitive, a lot of interference, or a lot of just like tying people together. So I think when you explain all of it, it may not make a lot of sense to people. It felt like a little overbooking. And then the ending, you have Darby Allin slam his car into the Moxley faction truck. I don't like that they're called the Death Riders. That's a very stupid ass name. But this makes Darby Allin get a majority of attention. I would actually rather see Adam Page versus Moxley at the next pay per view World's End, but it's probably going to be Darby Allin versus Moxley. And I think that in this one, they're actually going to be hardcore and be really violent and crazy. And I think that that's kind of the direction that they're going in. And then the other thing that I'll say is that, overall it was a really great show. I think I lost my voice a couple of times. I was very well entertained. It's like what I said, that AEW, I'm just so tired because I lost all my energy. But AEW does their pay-per-views very, very well, and you can't take that away from them. I think this is an A- pay-per-view, in my opinion. I walked in very energetic, not a lot of hopes, and definitely, like, the matches were great. The storytelling was great. The emotional investments that they were able to create were good. And those are things that they struggle with. So it seems like, as I said, that if Tony wants to make money, he would definitely, keep his formula on pay-per-views, So, like I said, I think with television, they just need to hire more writers, and they also need to just, hire, like, a story editor to make sure that if there's any, like, storylines that don't make sense, or they may seem like a little, like, problematic, because I know, like, sometimes, just having, like, cute kids and, like, and whatever, in your storytelling will, like, grant you, like, people approving what you have to write, really. But I really think that, as I said, that you work on the weaknesses of AEW, you're going to have a really strong show. But it seems like their pay-per-views, they hit it out of the park, really. They treat them like big deals. But what they don't do is they don't treat their shows like big deal. Like, as I said, they need to kind of just they have a lot to learn with story editors and all that stuff, and then just things making sense, really. But overall, I think if I was to give the show a grade, I would say A-. I'm very happy that I watched it. The $550 was worth it. I actually got a seat, but I sold this to somebody because I'm traveling. I'm only traveling around the country with an AEW chair. And then also the other thing that I want to say is that it was really great. Production is really nice, really great customer service, staff, and security. The wrestlers were very respectful to me. And then also, one of the best experiences. I think, as I said, AEW is hitting it out of the park with pay-per-views this year, and they need to continue doing that. But as I said, put their money in good storytellers and good story writers and good story editors. Like that just has to be in and like maybe in a booker that's like, okay, Tony, who do you want to push? And it's my job to kind of create the stories or the things that can kind of help that person, learn and grow, really. So. It's gonna be an interesting couple of weeks. I think that honestly, like since they have 3 shows in Manhattan, I think that I would, from the strength of this show, I would say yes. I'll be interested in those 3 shows. I think the only big thing that they did wrong was that they should have advertised the 3 shows on the big screen. They should have also said something like, "We have Supercard of Honor," and they should have had some wrestlers come out and advertise that. That's the only thing that hurt the show, really. But otherwise, it's a solid A- for me, and hell of a good job with Full Gear.